Hello, and welcome to the Nebraska Department of Education's presentation of the Afterschool Snack Program. Before we dive into it, I want to give a brief introduction into the flow of this presentation. As a footnote, anytime you see this little resource purple triangle in the bottom right-hand corner of a slide, there's going to be a resource located in the resource packet, whether that's a PDF, form or document, an image, or a link to a site. Anytime you see that little resource triangle on that slide, that resource is going to be located in the resource packet. Just as another FYI, you can also find a lot of these resources as well as other resources, trainings, forums, etc. on the Nutrition Services website with the included link here. We also have a dedicated after-school snack program page that includes a lot of similar information in this presentation, just in a more brief, basic format. So introducing this whole presentation, we've identified 3 different objectives. The first objective is understanding what the after-school snack program is and the eligibility standards. Our second objective is understanding the meal pattern requirements. And the third objective is understanding required documentation for reimbursement. So with each of the 3 objectives, this presentation is divided into those 3 objectives, so we'll move through each of those. Starting with each section, we'll briefly flow through each objective. So in this first section, we'll start and end with this slide, Objective 1. And then with the end of this Objective 1, Section 1, we'll recap all of the content in this section just as a nice little refresher at the end of each objective of each section. So starting off with our first objective, got understanding what the after-school snack program is and the eligibility standards. We're going to touch base on program eligibility, who is eligible, what is eligible, eligible snacks and what that means. We'll dive into a topic called area and non-area eligibility, and we'll dive into a little bit more detail on specifics of that type of eligibility, including non-area pricing and non-pricing program, as well as reimbursement rates for snacks. And then lastly, we'll finish off with walking through how to fill out a school meal application. National School Lunch Program, or NSLP, After-School Snack Program is a federally assisted snack service that provides reimbursement to assist schools or sites in serving snacks to students after the regular school day. The mission or purpose behind the After-School Snack Program is to help children fully engage in after-school programming by filling the hunger gap many children face in the afternoon and early evening. Okay. Program and site eligibility. The School Food Authority, or SFA, must participate in the National School Lunch Program, or NSLP, for a site operated by the FSA to operate the after-school snack program. So essentially what that means, that site or that SFA must participate in the school lunch program to be able to participate in the after-school snack program as well. Additionally, the site must sponsor or operate an after-school care program to be eligible. So for example, an after-school snack program does not look like once children are dismissed from school, they get a snack and they can immediately leave for home. What this means is that there has to be some sort of after-school care program following school. More on to program and site eligibility. The after-school care program must provide care for children after the school day has ended, so it can't be during the school day, has to be afterwards. It must have organized, regularly scheduled activities in a structured and supervised environment, and we'll go into a little bit more detail into what those eligible activities are. But they include educational or enrichment activities distinct from any extracurricular program organized by primarily for scholastic, cultural, or athletic purposes. So I've got a list here dividing out both the eligible and non-eligible activities. There are a variety of different types of eligible activities, including homework assistance and tutoring, mentorship, supervised drop-in athletic programs, extended day programs, as well as drama activities, arts and crafts programs as well. The caveat to that, what is not eligible is organized interscholastic or community level sports, simply meaning this does not include sports practices or sports competitions. Eligible students and snacks. So who can participate and what does an eligible snack look like? Students can participate in this snack program if there is an approved after-school care program, of course, as well as if they're 18 or under at the start of the school year. Snacks are eligible, only one snack per student when served on a regular school day. Snacks are not reimbursable on non-school days, including weekends or school breaks. The little asterisk we'll talk about on this slide of year-round snacks. So schools can claim year-round snacks if they have a year-round school schedule, which does not include summer school. So if their regular academic calendar is a calendar year, that would qualify for year-round snacks, but not a school that operates from August to May that also has summer school. That would not qualify. Additionally, residential childcare institutes can claim snacks year-round if they are an approved educational program Rule 18 school. If you're not sure what that is, or if you're not sure if that applies to your operation, I would recommend reaching out to your nutrition program specialist to clarify. So if the RCCI is not an approved program, the dates for the snack program must reflect the public school calendar in their town or in their city. Okay, area eligibility. So when talking about area eligibility, there's two different types, area eligibility and non-area eligibility. For area eligibility, this includes the free reimbursement rate. So essentially, any schools or sites that are located in a school attendance area where at least half of the enrolled students are eligible for free or reduced price meals, all of these snacks would classify as free, even if that does not include your own individual site. Like if your school does not have that 50% threshold of students that are on free or reduced meals, as long as there's an additional school in your attendance area that meets that 50% threshold or more, you would be considered involved in that area eligibility. So that includes all students receive snacks at no cost, and you can claim all snacks at the free reimbursement rate. On the other side of that coin, we have non-area eligibility. So this is when the free, reduced price, or paid reimbursement rate comes into play. This happens when the site or operation is not in an eligible area, or if they are not eligible themselves, and there are no other schools in their school attendance area that would meet this 50% threshold. That would mean the rate charged depends on the student's meal eligibility, and you can implement a pricing or non-pricing program. So there are options for pricing for non-area eligibility. Okay, doing a little comparing and contrasting of the non-area eligible pricing versus non-pricing program. For the non-area eligible pricing program, which for area eligibility, you do not have to worry about these two different types of pricing programs because all of your snacks can be claimed as free. But again, for the non-area eligible, you will have to consider which type of program you'd like for your school or operation. So, under the non-area eligible pricing program, snacks can be claimed as free, reduced, or paid. Students are charged based on their meal eligibility status, so free, reduced, or paid. Free eligible students would receive no charge for their snack. Reduced price eligible students cannot be charged more than 15 cents for their snacks. And then paid students would pay the full price determined by the school or facility. Okay, for the non-pricing program, similar but a little bit different. Snacks are claimed, not charged, claimed as free, reduced, and paid. Therefore, students receive their snacks at no charge. The operation does have to cover that cost though. Snacks should be paid for from another non-program fund, such as non-federal funds or a general fund. And you can check the reimbursement rates annually at USDA Food and Nutrition Services or on NDE's Nutrition Services website. These reimbursement rates are released annually in July. Okay, diving into how to fill out the school meals application. The final slides of Objective 1 involve how to fill out a school meals application. If this isn't a responsibility of yours, you can go ahead and skip forward to the slide with the Objective 1 review information. And just as a note, school districts and RCCIs must notify Nutrition Services at NDE of their intent to participate in the Afterschool Snack Program. An explanation of the educational or enrichment component of the program must also be submitted to Nutrition Services. Each program site that is eligible to participate in the after-school snack program must complete the appropriate section of both the system and the site applications for their annual online agreement. So once you log into the CNP system and you go to fill out this application, starting on 1 here, you will see After School Care Program. This is the After School Snack Program. This is what you would select here. Continuing on with the school meals application, we've got a variety of different fields to fill out here in Section C. We've got operational dates, including the start date and end date, days of the week that snacks are served and claimed for reimbursement, which are typically Monday through Friday, but you will check whichever days snacks are served. We've got C3, snack service time, so you'll list the beginning time of snack and then the end snack time. And C4, what time the normal school day ends. So in this example, it's listed as 3:25. And if we look at C3 right above it, we have noted that snack starts right at the end of the school day, not before, because snack cannot begin before the end of the school day. It has to start right at that time or after the school day has ended. In C5, we've got a point of service count for snack. In this example, we've included roster or checkoff, and as a friendly reminder, your POS count must be taken after snack is served. For example, attendance is not an eligible point of service count. In field C6, we've got free and reduced enrollment percentage, and in this particular example, it is free auto-filled with 59.11%, which your application, if you in a previous year had participated in the after-school snack program, this percentage will pre-populate. It will autofill for you. But if you have not participated in the after-school snack program previously and that field is blank, I will show you in the next couple of slides how to find that percentage. Underneath that C6 field, we've got 3 different options listed as site is, either attendance area eligible based on this site, attendance area eligible based on another qualifying site, or non-area eligible. And technically, based on this example here at 59%, we are above that 50% threshold, so we would select attendance area eligible. The site is field is not pre-auto-filled, so you do have to select which type of area eligibility applies to your school, whether it's either of the top 2 area eligible or non-area eligible, just depending on your site. And then at the bottom, if you are an area eligible site based on another qualifying site, you will have to list the school or site that qualifies your school. And this only applies for the attendance area eligible based on another qualifying site. So if you are area eligible based on your own site, you do not have to list a school here. And if you are non-area eligible, you also do not have to list a school there at the qualifying site. Okay, when trying to find this percentage of your school of the free and reduced price population of students, you'll go into CNP. At the top left-hand corner, you'll click Applications. In Applications, you'll click Application Packet. And then within that, you'll click on Site Applications. From there, you might see a couple different schools populate in the total sites enrolled list. You will look for your school or facility, and then the far right-hand side, in that red box there, you'll see percent enroll free/reduced October of 20, whatever the previous year is. So this percentage is based on the previous year's enrollment percentage in October. So, as an example, if we take a look at two of our different schools, we've got a junior senior high school as well as an elementary school. We're just going to take a look at imagining if we were the elementary school putting in an after-school snack application. We can see on the far right-hand side under that percent enroll free and reduced of October of last year, whichever year that may be, our rate is 70%. So if we go into the application itself, we would fill in our operational start and end dates, as well as the days of the week that we would operate after school snack. We would fill in the begin time and end time, as well as when the school day ends, the point of service count method, and then C6, this is where we would plug in that 70%. So 70.21% free and reduced enrollment percentage. Because that is over that 50% threshold, we know our elementary school is attendance area eligible based on our own site. So we don't need to worry about any of the other options on there, nor do we need to worry about the qualifying site that's a little bit under that 3-option list. Okay, taking a look at an attendance area eligible based on another qualifying site example. Again, we've got two different schools here. We've got X High School and X Elementary School. If we were in the mind of the elementary school, if we were filling out an application for this elementary school, we would see that our percent enrollment is 49%, which does not meet that 50% threshold, and we cannot round up to 50% because that percentage is our percentage. But if we take a look at X High School, and we know that this school is in the same attendance area as the elementary school, and it is at or above that 50% threshold, we are able to mark the attendance area eligible based on another qualifying site option. So that's okay that our elementary school doesn't qualify because we're below that 50%. X High School is in our attendance area and it does meet that 50% threshold. So that is why we are able to mark eligibility based on another qualifying site. And then the important piece below that, the enter the qualifying site for the after school care program, we would list X High School. So something to note, in that C6 percentage field, we would not put X High School's percentage. We would put our own, the elementary school, and then we would list what site qualifies us, the elementary school. X High School would qualify us, so that is what we would list there. But for the enrollment percentage, we put our own percentage if we're hypothetically X elementary school. Attendance area eligibility can be tricky and there's a bit of nuance involved in it. So if you are ever curious or concerned about the accuracy of your application for any reason, but including this reason, please contact NDE, your program specialist, to make sure that you're filling out the application correctly. For non-area eligible sites, we've got an example here. So if we take a look, we've got two example sites. We've got A elementary school and A high school. If we take a look at the far right-hand side, if we're imagining that we're A elementary filling out this application, we're only at 45%. Again, we do not meet that 50% threshold. And then we take a look at who else is in our attendance area. We also see that A high school does not meet that 50% threshold, but that's okay. You can still participate in After School Snack. You would just be a non-area eligible site. So you would select non-area eligible and then list what your percentage is, which in our case, as A elementary school, we would be 45%. And then we would not include a qualifying site at the bottom there. Okay, moving on after our examples of the different types of sites and which you would select for your own instance, we'll move to the eligible activities on the school meals application, C7 field. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of different types of activities. There's a variety that you might select from, including art and music, character and leadership, computer lab, counseling, fitness and recreation, health skills, homework assistance, life skills, mentoring, reading room and vocabulary, study aids, as well as other, which you'll need to provide a little description if you did list others so that we understand what sort of activity you'll be providing. And then you'll also list on the right-hand side what days of the week you'll be offering each of those activities. What we learned in this first section for Objective 1, understanding what the After-School Snack Program is and the eligibility standards. We talked about program eligibility, which if you remember, a site has to operate the school lunch program to be able to participate in the After-School Snack Program. We talked about eligible activities, which there are a variety of activities, but excluding sports practices. Eligible students include students who are 18 years old or younger at the start of the school year. And then eligible snacks, one student is eligible for one reimbursable snack, not multiple. Then we talked about area and non-area eligibility. And if you recall from area eligibility, that can be based on your own site or another qualifying site. If either your site or another qualifying site in that school attendance area meets that 50% free and reduced eligibility threshold. Non-area eligibility would be if your site does not meet that 50% threshold, then you do not have another school in your attendance area that meets that threshold as well. We also talked about non-area pricing versus non-pricing programs, the difference between the two. A non-area pricing program, students are charged based on their meal eligibility, so either free, reduced, or paid. And the non-pricing program is a little bit different. The snacks are claimed as free, reduced, or paid based on the student meal eligibility, but the students are not charged, and the cost is covered by non-program funds. Then we also briefly walked through how to fill out the school meal application, as well as a couple examples of different types of area eligibility and non-area eligibility. Transition to our second objective, we've got understanding the meal pattern requirements. So we'll talk about the meal pattern itself, along with the July 2025 updates from the final rule, meal pattern reminders, non-creditable foods, water availability, as well as finishing up with the After-School Snack Program Ideas handout. Okay, introducing the meal pattern for After-School Snack Program. You must serve 2 out of the 5 required food components in the required portion. So we've got the 5 different components. We've got fluid milk, fruits, veggies, grains, and our meat alternate. And this meal pattern is through K through 12th grades, and the serving sizes are all listed there. So for fluid milk, that is 8 fluid ounces. Fruits is 3/4 of a cup. Vegetables, 3/4 of a cup as well. Grains is 1 ounce equivalent. And then meat alternate is also that 1 ounce equivalent. There's a little bit more detail here included in the USDA meal pattern chart. Again, we've got that same representation of components and then the minimum quantities for each. Couple of notable rules and tips. The first footnote mentions that you must serve 2 out of the 5 components for a reimbursable after-school snack, and only 1 of the 2 components may be a beverage, so you can't have a fluid snack. You may have 1 fluid and another snack item, but both cannot be 2 fluid items. That second footnote on there says that you may need to serve larger portions to children ages 13 through 18 to meet their nutritional needs. And then a last tip on that footnote 5, juice must be pasteurized full-strength juice. No more than half of the weekly fruit or veggie offerings may be in the form of juice. And then we'll get into a little bit more detail on the meal pattern chart. Okay, in this presentation, we're not going to go into detail about the preschool meal pattern. If you serve preschoolers, I would recommend taking a look at the USDA's Let's Make a Snack on their website. This is a really great resource that's full of sample menus, checklists, menu planning activities, and it's got a handful of different USDA standardized snack recipes. So if you serve preschoolers, I would recommend checking that out. About the July 2025 meal pattern updates. As I mentioned, there are 5 different components. That is an update from the previous 4 components where fruits and vegetables were considered the same component. Now they are 2 separate components to yield our 5 different components. So our fluid milk, fruits, vegetables, grains, and meat alternates. Next, we've got yogurt. Yogurt must not exceed 12 grams of added sugar per 6 ounces or 2 grams of added sugar per ounce. For grains, grain-based desserts cannot be used for after-school snacks. You can see in more detail if you take a look at Exhibit A in our resource packet. That'll tell you a little bit more information about what is considered a grain-based dessert and what is not. I will note that unfrosted animal and graham crackers are allowed in the after-school snack program as a reimbursable item. More so, breakfast cereal must not exceed 6 grams of added sugar per ounce. Meal pattern reminders. There is no offer versus serve. Students must take the 2 components for a reimbursable snack. You cannot serve only 2 foods from the same food component. So you could not serve, for example, whole grain rich crackers and pretzels because they both come from the grains component. It has to be from 2 different components. And then lastly, 80% or more of weekly grains must be whole grain rich. Any remaining grains must be enriched. Fluid milk must be fat-free or low-fat. It may be flavored or unflavored, and there are no current added sugar limits at this time for fluid milk. No more than half of both weekly fruit and vegetable offerings may be in the form of juice, like we mentioned earlier. And then a snack cannot be only fluid, so you could not serve both juice and milk. A couple of reimbursable snack examples. On the left-hand side, we've got a grain component and a meat alternate component in the form of 0.8 ounces or 1 ounce equivalent of whole grain rich wheat crackers. And then we've got a 1 ounce serving or 1 ounce equivalent of cheese cubes. On the right-hand side, we've got both a fruit and fluid milk component in the form of 3/4 cup of grapes, and then we've got 8 fluid ounces of milk. Next, We've got another fruit component in the form of 2 medium bananas, which bananas are a little bit tricky. 1 banana is equivalent to a half cup serving, and therefore 2 bananas equals to a full cup serving. But with our after school snack program, if we want to try to reach that 3/4 cup minimum serving requirement, we would need to serve at least 1.5 bananas. But if you don't want to cut up a bunch of bananas in half, you can of course serve 2 bananas. So on our snack menu for today, we've got 2 bananas to meet that reimbursable 3/4 cup of fruit. And then our second item, we've got half a cup of yogurt, which is a 1 ounce equivalent for our meat alternate. On the right-hand side, for our next reimbursable snack, we've got a mix of veggies, so half a cup of cucumbers and then a 1/4 cup of cherry tomatoes to make our 3/4 cup of vegetables. And then we have a 1/4 cup or a 1 ounce equivalent of hummus for our meat alternate component. Going over non-creditable food examples, this is just a list of some examples. So fruit snacks, fruit leather, fruit roll-ups are not creditable. Potato or vegetable chips or sticks like veggie straws. Cereal bars, breakfast bars, and even granola bars, including Nutri-Grain bars, are not creditable anymore. Pudding, ice cream, cream cheese or sour cream, and yogurt-covered fruit or nuts are not creditable. Water availability. Free potable water must be made available during snack service, and no, water is not a meal pattern component, so water must be offered during meal times. This is a handout that was created titled After School Snack Ideas, again, for grades K through 12. We've got that rule that you must serve 2 out of the 5 components with our 5 different components listed there. On the top of each column of component, there's just a long list of examples of types of foods that you could serve for each of those components. And then underneath those list of examples are some helpful tips and tricks and hints. So, for example, our helpful tips for fruit, we note that canned fruit should be canned in light syrup, water, or fruit juice. And then we've got our helpful tip of no more than half of the weekly fruit offerings may be in the form of juice. Likewise for vegetables with that juice limit there. For grains, more than or equal to 80% of weekly grains must be whole grain rich. Any remaining grains must be enriched. We cannot use grain-based desserts, and breakfast cereals must have less than or equal to 6 grams of added sugar per ounce. Similarly, we've got that added sugar limit for yogurt. And then looking over at milk, fluid milk must be fat-free or low-fat, may be flavored or unflavored. And then fluid milk may be offered as one of the 2 components, but the other component must not be a beverage. Next, we've got a month's worth example menu for after-school snack ideas labeled Monday through Friday, week 1 through 4. And the colors correspond with the different food components. So orange matches with grains, red matches with fruit, green matches with vegetables, purple with meat alternate, and then blue with fluid milk. So on this list of examples, we've got a variety of mixed and matched food components to make sure we're keeping snacks creative and interesting for students and children. Lastly, in this handout, it goes into detail about creditable and non-creditable after-school snacks. So on the top half, we've got a list of creditable components, and then on the bottom half, anything that is not creditable, like, for example, looking at fruit. Fruit juice cocktails are not creditable. Fruit-flavored beverages are also not creditable. Taking a look at meat alternate, as an example, bacon and bacon bits are not creditable. So it just goes into some common hiccups that you might find with after-school snacks and differentiates between the creditable and non-creditable items. Okay, wrapping up Objective 2. Hopefully now we understand what the after-school snack program meal pattern requirements are, as well as a couple of reminders. What is creditable, what is not creditable, the fact that water does have to be served alongside a snack, and then we just went through the 3 pages of that helpful after-school snack program ideas handout. Turning our sights to Objective 3, understanding required documentation for reimbursement. We'll talk about required documentation, SOPs or standard operating procedures, production records, point of service meal counts, non-area eligibility snack participation record, claims, required staff training, non-discrimination poster, as well as a required on-site review, and then we'll wrap up with an end of presentation summary. Taking a look at required documentation, this is a very important slide. Number 1 on here, we have our SOP. This is something that has to be reviewed and completed annually. Next on the list, we've got menu and production records, labels and invoices, daily meal counts, consolidated meal counts for filing the monthly claim for reimbursement, attendance records, staff training, and on-site reviews. So documents 2 through 7 have this record retention requirement where these records must be saved for 3 years plus the current year. So make sure to hold on to these on site. The only reason why the SOP is different is that the record retention rule does not apply to the SOP. You do not have to keep 3+ years worth of your SOPs, but you do have to keep a current updated annual SOP. This is an example of what an SOP would look like for your after-school snack. We've included an after-school snack SOP template in the resources. An SOP should be documented and included in your written HACCP plan. You want to make sure to read through them and modify them for your food service program every single year. So this document is not something that you take and sign. You do need to be thorough, look through it, make sure that it applies to your food service program and to your after-school snack program, and make sure that it's up to date every single year. Here we have our after-school snack weekly production record. The way that you would fill this out is you would record the name of the site, the dates of that current week. So this example would be May 6th to the 10th of whatever year it is. And then it's got some additional fields that are required to be filled out. So we've got Monday through Friday number of snacks that were ordered, as well as Monday through Friday actual number of snacks served for children, staff, and then the total snacks that were served. And underneath that, we can write the detail of what was served for each snack. So a list of both components, the planned serving size, including the meal pattern contribution, so not just how much was served, but how it contributes to the meal pattern, the total amount prepared, food temperatures, as well as how many leftovers there were, if any, and any additional comments. Here we have an example production record with a variety of different fields that you'll have to fill out. But for the example site today, we've got Apple Elementary School as the name of the site. And then for the dates, you will list the week that you are recording your after-school snack production record. So in this example, we've got August 22nd through the 26th. And then below, we've got a field that says number of snacks ordered, as well as actual number of snacks served. And then below that, we've got a column that says components, planned serving sizes with meal pattern contribution, total amount prepared, food temperatures, as well as leftovers and any additional comments for each day of the week, Monday through Friday, listed there. So taking a look underneath number of snacks ordered, we can see on Monday, 27 snacks were ordered, Tuesday, 26, Wednesday, 25, Thursday, 24, and Friday are 30. Then if we look at the actual number of snacks served, we can see there were 27 children on Monday and 27 snacks were served, which is the same number of snacks that were ordered. On Tuesday, there were 24 children and all children took snacks on that day, same as Monday. So 24 children showed up for after school snack and 24 snacks were served. But the discrepancy on Tuesday is that we ordered 26 snacks, which we'll have to record any amount of leftover snacks. So if we hop ahead to the column below for the Tuesday snack and look all the way over to the right-hand side under leftovers and comments, we can see that we've got a 2 listed there to represent we have 2 leftover snacks because we ordered 26, but only 24 children were served. So taking a look at the actual snacks themselves, let's look at Monday's snacks. So under the component column, we served whole grain rich crackers. Underneath the planned serving size, and 1 ounce of those whole grain crackers were served. And then we do need to note that meal pattern contribution. So while 1 ounce was served, we do need to note that that is a 1 ounce equivalent of grains. And we served 27 servings of that snack. And because crackers are a shelf-stable product, we do not need to include a temperature here. Then taking a look at our second food component, we are serving cheese cubes in 1 ounce portions. And again, noting that meal pattern contribution, that is a 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternate. And again, we serve 27 snacks, so you can write 27 servings there. We do need to temp the cheese cubes. And a note for the food temperature site, there are 2 different food temperature fields, the first and the second, because all sites must temp the snacks at the site before they leave the kitchen and before the snacks are served at the site. For example, if another site vends your snacks and brings it to your school, they will have to take the temperature of the snack before it leaves their kitchen, and then it will also need to be temped before the snacks are served to ensure food safety. So listed here at this example, the first temperature before those snacks are leaving the kitchen are temped at 3 o'clock, and they're temping at 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Then right before we're about to serve the snack at 3:45, they temp at 39 degrees Fahrenheit. So those are safe to serve. And we have no leftovers on Monday. And then taking a look at Tuesday, for our first component, we have cucumbers and cherry tomatoes. We've got half a cup of cucumbers and a quarter cup of cherry tomatoes. That equals 3/4 of a cup. And that meets our 3/4 of a cup meal pattern contribution requirement for our first component. We served 26 snacks, so 26 servings is listed there. And then again, we are temping at both times before the snacks leave the kitchen and right before the snacks are served. So another example, at 3, they tempt at 40 degrees, and then at 3:45, they tempt at 40 degrees as well. And then if you remember earlier on, we had 24 children take snacks, but we ordered 26 snacks, so we're listing 2 as our snack leftover in that right-hand column. And then for our second food component, it's hummus. We are serving a quarter cup, which the meal pattern contribution is a 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternate for hummus. We've got those 26 servings. Same thing, at 3 o'clock, we're temping at 40 degrees. At 3:45, we're temping at 40 as well with those 2 additional leftovers. Point of service or POS meal counts. Meal counts must be taken at the time each child receives a reimbursable snack. So meal counts cannot be taken before a snack is served or way after snack time has been concluded. Another example, counts cannot be based on pre-order numbers or attendance. Additionally, snacks must be eaten on site. Once snacks are served, they have to be eaten at the site that they were served. They cannot be taken away from that site, like for example, if children were traveling to another school. Additionally, non-area eligible programs must track by student name and maintain confidentiality to prevent overt identification of eligibility status. Finally, Sites can use electronic POS systems, paper count sheets, or some form of electronic spreadsheet. You have to keep some form of POS documentation on file so that you can support your monthly claim for snack reimbursement. Document for non-area eligible sites. So it's free, reduced, paid meal counts. So on the far left-hand side, we've got the site under that, month, year, and date, and then the child's full name. So you would list the children's full names on this far left-hand side. You would mark them absent, or you would mark that they participated in snack, or that they were present but they did not take a snack. Then at the bottom of that sheet, you can see the daily totals for both free, reduced, and paid, as well as any adults that took snacks. At the bottom, so at the end of the month, you would record the number of days snacks served, number of reimbursable snacks served for the month under the free, reduced, and paid categories, and then a signature of the person completing the form as well as the date. Turning gears over to claims. Claims must be completed monthly, and you can complete them alongside breakfast and or lunch claims. So taking a look at what this claims document might look like, this is an example of an area eligible after-school care program claim. So we've got a couple of different fields here. We would list the number of children approved for free snacks, number of operating days, average daily attendance, and then reimbursable snacks served, so the number of free snacks served. And if we remember, we only have to record the number of snacks served because this is an area eligible site. With area eligible sites, all snacks are considered and can be claimed as free for students. On this slide, we have non-area eligible claims. So sites who are not area eligible would list the number of children approved for free snacks, reduced snacks, as well as paid snacks. Then these sites would also fill out the number of enrolled children, number of operating days, as well as average daily attendance. And then here in field A7, we've got reimbursable snacks served. So you would list the total number of free snacks served that month, reduced price snacks served that month, and then paid snacks served that month. And the handy thing about field D under A7 is that you don't have to add those three ABC items together. It will total that amount for you at the bottom. There is required staff training. All staff involved in the after-school snack program, even non-food service employees, need to be trained on program requirements. This must be documented with names, signatures, dates, and topics covered. If you're curious to know what required staff training topics there are, you must train any staff that are involved in that after-school snack program on program overview and purpose, food safety and sanitation, meal pattern requirements, meal counting, as well as civil rights. You do have to display this "and justice for all non-discrimination" poster wherever you serve snacks. And if you happen to need any additional posters, you can complete the request form on our webpage, which is also located in our handout packet. This is where you would navigate for this order form. You would go to the CSSS Nutrition Services homepage, and on this homepage you would see there in this blue a material order form drop-down. Within the box of the material order request, you can see a link that says click here for order form to get you more free posters. We do require on-site reviews, and on this right-hand side, you can see the document that you would fill out to complete this on-site review. On-site reviews must be completed twice a year, and the first review must happen within the first 4 weeks of operation. The purpose of this review is just double-checking that your site is operating the after-school snack program properly and that you've got everything in order. Summarize our third and final objective. Hopefully now we understand the required documentation for reimbursement. We talked about which documents are required, including an SOP, production records, point of service meal counts, and for non-area eligible sites, a snack participation record. We talked about claims and how to complete them on a monthly basis, as well as required staff training, which, as a reminder, all staff including non-food service staff, need to be trained on program overview and purpose, food safety, meal pattern requirements, meal counting, and civil rights. Next, it is required to have that non-discrimination poster posted where snacks are served. And then we've got our required on-site review, which is something that is required to be done twice a year. The first review must be completed within the first 4 weeks of operation. To summarize this entire presentation, you should now understand that the purpose of this after-school snack program is to provide care in an after-school setting. The program must be organized to provide children with regularly scheduled activities in a setting that's structured and supervised. The program must be operated by an SFA, so a school food authority, where at least one school participates in the school lunch program. Eligible programs must include educational or enrichment activities in a supervised, structured environment after the end of the school day. In addition to that, for the after-school snack program, you must meet meal pattern and food safety requirements. This is very important. The program does not have to use the school district's personnel or regular school facilities to serve the snack. The school district, or RCCI, retains final administrative and management responsibility for the program, including the program site, so it is super important to make sure the after-school snack program is operated correctly. Sites and operators must also complete all necessary documents, including production records, and obtain accurate point of service meal counts to support the claim for reimbursement. They must have a means for determining if children are present on a given day, such as a roster or a sign-in sheet. 2 on-site reviews must be conducted each school year, with the first being done within the first 4 weeks of program start. Concludes our after-school snack program presentation. Congratulations, you got through the whole training. I do want to point out there is an after-school snack program basics 1-pager in case if you want to recall any of the information that you learned in this presentation. This is just like a quick, easy 1-pager to help refresh you on what the meal pattern requirements are, any of that additional detail onto what is required, what's creditable, not creditable, in addition to the required documentation to operate this program. So this is something that you can print out and hang in your kitchen or near your computer. In this presentation, you will have received a continuing education unit certificate, which is located in your resource packet. Here we have our non-discrimination statement, and I want to thank you for tuning into this presentation. I hope you learned a lot about the after-school snack program. And again, if you ever have any questions, please reach out to your nutrition services program specialist. Have a good day.